So I just watched the podcast I just made, and I realized there are probably a couple of things I should have also went over in a little more detail. One of them is, please note that there is no $sign before the temporary variable. If you remember, when we are setting a variable, like up here in the read statement, we do not use a $sign. We are referencing the variable, we do use a $sign. So no $sign in the temporary variable, $sign in the list of things when you are uh, using the variable. So that was the first thing I forgot. The second thing I forgot is, please don't use variables, some list of things, in temp variable. You want to make your variables meaningful for what you are doing. So in this case, we're going to change the variable to, list. We'll call it users. Users. So we're going to read into the users, and down here we'll reference $users. Users. And then temp variable can do whatever you want it to be, except it cannot be some variable that's used in other places. So we can't use users for this temp variable, but we can use user. So this makes a lot of sense to me visually. It says for user in $users. So now down here we're going to change this to user, and we'll change this to user. So now we're going to do what we did. So now instead of having just generic variable names I was using to try to show you how to write a script, we've put in some specific usernames that make sense for what the script is actually doing. In this case, we're going to echo user last logins were, and then another thing I wanted to tell you was that anything you can do at the command line, you can do within this for loop. So in this case, you can redirect input and output. So we're going to redirect this output into head-1 to get just the first line of output. Why do we want just the first line of output? Well, maybe I want the last time they logged in and not every time they've ever logged in. So that's that. You can also, at this point, you could use this character to redirect this into a file name, right? So now every time through the list, it will run this command and write it into a file, right? This append character, this character is probably not the one you want, because this overwrites the file. So if you use this character, every time through the loop, it's going to get rid of what was put in the file in the previous time through the loop, and at the end of the loop, you'll only have the output from the last command. So within your for loop, you want to have the two greater thans to append. So you could have that in there if you wanted to write it to a file every time through. We're not going to do that this time, but I thought I should tell you that because that might be important to know at some point. So we'll go ahead and run this this new loop with the appropriate variable names, and we're using the pipe to pipe it through head. So there we go. So now we have our list of user IDs. We run through, we print out our generic line, and then we just get the last time the user logged in by using the head-1. So I think finally that is everything I wanted to tell you about for loops.